All right, guys, this bike right here is a bike I've been wanting to review for a while, and it's a brand that I've never reviewed, but has been on my radar for a couple of years. This is the Himiway D5 2.0, and this particular one is the step over. They also make a step through, and they even make a really sick camouflage version. This bike has surprised me in so many ways. I can't wait to get this thing outside and show you guys what this bike is all about. Because honestly, it's probably the quietest rear hub motor that I've ever experienced. So real quick, before we hit the road and start the pedal assist test, I do want to fully disclose, Himiway did send this bike out to me for this particular review. They didn't ask to review the video prior to posting it, and they didn't ask me to put in anything specific. All of my opinions on this review are my opinions, and Himiway had no influence at all on whether or not I have a good thought on this bike or a bad thought on this bike. I hope you guys enjoy this review. Let's go ahead and let's get it started. All right, guys, I have this switched over to cadence sensor mode, and I also have this set to the highest possible power output that this bike can actually do. Now, there's several different pedal assist levels on here. One of them that's real interesting is called Eco Plus, and that one actually comes before Eco, which seems a little bit backwards to me, but no big deal. You just have to understand that Eco Plus is actually lower than Eco. Right now on Eco Plus with a cadence sensor going, we're going about 8 miles an hour. Bump this up to Eco. Feel the power kick in. It's a nice, smooth power delivery, and we're going about 12 miles an hour, 12 and a half. It's still climbing. This should be limited, and there's different torque settings, but we're still climbing on Eco. There may not be a speed limit on this particular setting. I'm going to switch some gears and see what happens. Yeah, we're still climbing. I have a suspicion on this bike, you're only limited by how quickly or how much power it actually truly delivers during that pedal assist level. As I'm going a smooth 23 miles an hour on Eco, let's bump it up to Tour. I felt a little bit of power increase there. 25 miles an hour. Sport. $27 miles an hour, and turbo, which is the highest speed, maintaining around that 27, 26 mile an hour mark, similar to Tour. And those are the highest settings on this bike. And so it looks like you're just limited on how quickly it delivers the power. And you can see those settings in the menu. On turbo, it has the highest torque output, and on Eco Plus, it has the lowest torque output. Now, you'll see in the menu system, all those things can actually be changed because the menu system that is on this bike is one of the most impressive menu systems that I have seen on any bike that I've reviewed. This bike truly gives you the maximum amount of tunability on this bike. It's pretty crazy what they let you do. Now, they password lock it, but the password on this particular bike, at least in my manual, is 0510. And that lets you get in and change all those settings, but doesn't let somebody just come up to your bike and change settings without knowing that password. Now, this particular bike does have a torque and a cadence sensor, and primarily for me, if I was going to be riding this around town a lot, I would put this on a torque sensor. I feel like this bike is very, very smooth on the torque sensor, and I would really encourage you to try out the torque sensor, try out the cadence sensor, and determine which one is actually going to work best for you. For me, I personally like the torque sensor, but for that pedal assist test and for the 0 to 20 test, I always like to use a cadence sensor because that truly dumps the amount of power set up for that particular pedal assist level. So for instance, if Eco is set up to do 30 Newton meters of torque, Whenever you start pedaling on a cadence sensor, it's going to dump 30 Newton meters of torque almost instantly. There will be a little bit of a linear curve up to the top of that, but it's going to get there very quick. Where with a torque sensor, it's going to rely on you putting more pressure on the pedals. And whenever you put a maximum amount of pressure on it, that sensor is going to say, hey, I'm going to peak out at 30 Newton meters on eco. I'm going to peak out at 90 Newton meters on turbo. So that's why I use a cadence sensor on all the speed tests if there's sensor swaps. But honestly, I'm really impressed with how smooth this bike is. This bike comes in right around $2,000 right now as of making this video. I believe the full retail on this bike is closer to $2,300, but I've seen it on sale quite a bit. And the motor is honestly one of the quietest 750 watt motors that I have ever experienced. This little guy right down here looks like every other 750 watt motor, but it's dead quiet. Extremely impressed with that. And also, this suspension is super smooth. I've been very happy with it. Sometimes coil springs don't perform all that well. This one feels really, really impressive. And the RST guide fork, even though this is just a hydraulic fork, it is definitely very smooth out on the roads. I think the Maxxis tires are also helping the whole situation. Maxxis makes a premium tire, so you're getting a little bit better quality tire than, say, maybe like a Cho Yang tire. These are really performing really well. Not too loud on the road too, which is nice to see, because sometimes knobby tires like what we see on these Minions, they can be pretty loud. These actually are pretty quiet. A couple things that I want to point out before we get to the brake test is what I really think is cool. I love rear tail lights integrated into seat stays. And not every brand does this, but a few brands do out there. And I'm a huge fan of integrated tail lights. You also have a reflector right up here on the back rack, but you have the integrated tail lights on the rear chain stays on both sides. And that also will give you your turn signal ability, so you'll be able to let traffic know which direction you're turning. This bike is pretty impressive so far. I really like the fact that we did hit close to that 28 mile an hour mark, and the motor is extremely quiet. All right, let's go ahead. Let's do the brake test and see how quick this bad boy can actually stop. So how I do this is I just get up to about 20 miles an hour, and I have a designated stopping area. If you've watched any of my videos, you're familiar with it. And we see if it can stop within a distance that I've seen other bikes stop or do a little bit better. All right, let's go ahead. Oh, it looks like it timed out on me. Let's power this bad boy back on. And we're gonna accelerate. We're gonna get all this all the way up to turbo, and we're just gonna accelerate up to 20 miles an hour. Here we go. And 20. Yes, I love a bike that can stop really good. Maxxis tires have a really good compound in them, so they grip really well to the pavement. And also, this bike has Tektro brakes. If you guys have watched my videos long enough, you know I rave about Tektro every single time I have them come on a bike here, and they're just phenomenal. Now, if you're not familiar with my braking test, a bike that actually puts the front wheel within this area is considered a good braking ability. If it goes past this with the front wheel, it's okay. If it goes past it with the back wheel or falls within this area with the back wheel, it's just not the best braking. But as you guys can see, before this line is actually where the Himiway fell. This bike stopped really fast. And this is a big bike. We're gonna weigh this bike later. You're gonna see exactly how much this bike weighs, but it's a big bike. And to know a big bike like this can stop that quick is super reassuring. It's a combination of just a really well-built bike, really good compound on the Maxxis tires, and also you got the Tektro brakes, making this type of braking possible. All right, let's go ahead. Let's do the sensor switch test. This is where I switch between pedaling and then throttle to pedaling, because we want to see how quickly it can go between each one. All right, we're just going to start off with throttle, and then I'm going to pedal. It was pretty quick, less than a second. Let's do it again. Throttle, pedal, not even a half of a pedal stroke. So that did really, really good. Let's go ahead, slow it down just a little bit, and then we'll pedal a little bit and see how quickly it switches over to throttle. So we're pedaling, throttle. Yeah, that's pretty typical of most bikes. Whenever you pedal and then you switch to throttle, it's pretty much instant. It's almost always the other way that causes a little bit of an issue with most brands out there. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to try that again. So we're throttling and then we're pedaling. Yeah, about a quarter of a pedal. So that's pretty good. That's a fast switch over. It's not the fastest, but it is well within what I would consider good quality switching. Most bikes will take a half pedal turn or maybe even a full pedal turn. I've even seen bikes that do 2 full pedal turns before they would actually switch over. Overall, this bike is so smooth, guys. Like, it just feels really good. And one thing I really do like is I like how quiet the bike is. You don't hear the motor. A lot of bikes get really whiny and you can hear them, not with this one. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the 0 to 20 test. This is where I'm gonna put it in pedal assist, get up to 20 miles an hour, see how many seconds it does it. If it does it under 10 seconds, it's a decent bike. If it does it under right around 6 seconds, it's an extremely fast bike. So I've had a few that have hit, I believe, right under 6 seconds and a few that hover right above it. But most are in the 7 to 8 and then a few with the 10 and above. We're going to see exactly what this one can do. Now, remember, I am on a cadence sensor and I'm also going to be doing this in the hardest gear. And that's how I start all these tests out with the pedal. And then we'll come back and we'll do the throttle version of the 0 to 20. So here we go. 0 to 20 pedal assist in 3, 2, 1, go. Oh, cadence sensor kicked in right away. No problems. Woo, got a little bit of headwind and 20. We might have been slowed down by that headwind. I'm not gonna lie, that was actually a little bit more brutal than what I thought it would be. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing probably goes a little bit faster. I may redo both of these tests, go in the opposite direction, because that headwind was pretty beefy, but this is the direction that I've always done these tests on. So kind of think it's a fair playing ground. We're out here in the real world. It's the way it is. Okay, throttle version of 0 to 20 in 3, 2, 1, go. By the way, I'm on turbo. Nice, smooth control acceleration. And we are at 15 and 20. Yeah, that headwind, whew, that'll get you. Okay, just for fun. Let's do this with our back to the wind. I know my back is gonna actually push me along, but with like a sail. But I just want to do this for fairness. I want to see what this thing can do without a big headwind. All right, pedal assist 0 to 20, the opposite direction. 3, 2, 1, go. And here we are. Oh yeah, no headwind. 20. Yeah, it's about the same. It was about the same. Let's go back and let's do the throttle version in that direction. All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Throttle, nice and controlled. Having the back to my wind on this one. We're at 10 miles an hour. We're at 15 and 18, 20. So here's all the times for all 4. I don't typically do 4 unless I have some weird thing happen. But in this case, weird things happen. So for now, I want to go back to the garage before we do the hill climb. I want to weigh this bike, show you guys exactly how much this weighs, and I want to go over some of the other really cool details on this bike. This bike is truly a premium bike, coming in at under $2,000, pretty impressive. The only thing that probably holds this bike back, if I'm completely honest with you, is the battery size. I wish this bike had a 20 amp hour battery, but unfortunately it doesn't. However, it is very, very smooth. It's very high quality. You can feel the build quality in this bike. is really top notch. All right, let's head to the garage, go over that stuff, and then we'll go do the hill climb. All right, guys, I got the feedback sports scale. Let's test out and see how much this bike actually weighs. This is a beast of a bike. There you go. 91 pounds, 13 ounces is what this beast weighs. Okay, so you guys have seen so much stuff on the ride test with this bike. It is very impressive. This bike retails for a little over $2,000, and as of making this video, it's coming in right at $1,999, and I can definitely see why it falls in that price category. This bike is loaded with features, and not only that, it is super buttery smooth, and that whisper quiet motor really does make it nice. In fact, I think that if you're like a hunter and you're trying to creep through the woods, this might be a good option to go with just because that motor is so quiet at all speeds. But let's take a look at some of these other awesome features that come on this bike. One of the really cool things about this bike is that you have this massive 52-tooth chainring. A lot of manufacturers go with like a 48 or a 46. A 52 is going to really prevent any ghost pedaling at those higher speeds. Some of the attention to detail that you'll find on this bike is like this nice little chain guard here. So basically whenever this chain inevitably bounces up and down, it's not going to chip your paint, which is really nice. And speaking of the chain, this chain is a rust-proof chain. So if you do take this through fields or you get it wet out in the rain, you don't have to worry about this rusting like a standard bike chain would. Looking back on the back, you do have this Altus rear derailleur made by Shimano. Pretty standard, not the lowest end, not the highest end, but just right for an e-bike of this type. And you have these 8 gears in the back to choose from, giving you a lot of options to get up to max speed or be able to cruise up some really steep hills. Now, to me, one of the secret weapons on this bike is actually the suspension. The suspension on this is super nice. This is an RST suspension. It's 100 millimeters up front, and you've got a massive 130 millimeters in the back. Now, this is a coil spring with an 800-pound rating that is fully adjustable right down here at the bottom. So if you get this and the ride feels a little bit stiff, you can adjust it. And if it doesn't feel firm enough, you can actually adjust it the other direction. I really like the linkage setup here, and I'm really appreciative of seeing torque marks right here on the actual linkage bolts, and they also give you the torque specs printed directly on the linkage. Now, the bike does come with plastic fenders, which I am back and forth on plastic fenders. I like them if you're going to be riding off-road or in gravel because they cause less noise whenever stuff gets flung up inside of them, but they're not as nice as metal fenders. So depending on what you're preferring and what you like, the plastic fenders may not look as premium, but if you are riding gravel roads, dirt roads, or through fields, the plastic fenders are going to be much appreciative just because they can bend, they can flex, and they just don't make as much noise whenever you're going through those type of scenarios. Now, something I haven't seen any brand do that I have reviewed, and that's actually put on Maxxis tires. Maxxis tires are truly the premium tires when it comes to fat tires. They're definitely more expensive than, say, Kenda or Cho-Yang. I would say it goes Cho-Yang, Kenda, then Maxxis. You get the Maxxis FBF tires on here, 26 inches by 4 inches wide, really nice tread pattern, and it's a brand that you know you can trust. These things are rock solid. They're going to be super durable, and I just think they look awesome with the Maxxis logo on there. Now let's lower this down here just a little bit so I can get a better look at this level. One of the cool things is I'm seeing a lot of Bottle Boss mounts on here. You've got 3 up top, so you can mount a bottle cage, a lock, maybe put one of those little deals that has a Velcro strap on it that lets you hold like tires and tools. You can mount them up right here, or you've got 2 mounts down here that you can also mount additional accessories. And then you do have a rack mount up front. Now, if you do decide to charge the battery on here, you can charge it directly through this port here, or you can remove the battery. Let's take it out and take a look at it. To remove the battery, you're just gonna need to use the keys that they supplied. Just pop them in the key port right back here, give it a twist, and it does have a safety latch, so you don't have to worry about this falling out whenever you go to remove the battery. And then to fully remove it, you're gonna push in on the key and continue to turn. And it'll be like a second release on that. So you don't have to worry about the first one kind of dropping the battery out. Now, this particular battery, it is a 14.4 amp hour battery. So all of your specs are gonna be right down here on this label. This battery is gonna be 690.76 watt hours is what they're claiming this pack is. And with this battery, it is UL certified, and they do have a UL certified sticker on the front. So with UL certifications, it's really important just to make sure that that's actually the case with all of your batteries. If a manufacturer doesn't print that or put the sticker on the battery, you're gonna wanna research on their website to make sure that they are truly UL certified. UL certification is just important for safety in general. You're going to be having this in your house or in your office. You're going to want to make sure that these batteries have gone through a certification test to make sure that they're safe. And anytime you see the UL stamp on there and the brand is claiming that they're UL certified, then you can trust that they went through the proper certifications to be able to make their batteries safe. You do have the charging port right over here. It's the same one that appears through this hole here. So they just have an opening in the frame to be able to access that particular port. And then right here, you do have a kind of a battery indicator button where you can see how much battery life you have left if you don't have this on the bike. Installing this is super simple. You're just going to pop it back in here just like this. And then you're just gonna push it in, wait for it to click twice, and you're good to go. Okay guys, we are here at the big hill, and it's 19% grade, and up at the driveway is where we hit the 19%. This is about a tenth of a mile, I believe, is the total run for this hill. So it's a relatively long hill. Starts out gradual and we get up to the top. I'm gonna be running both pedal assist and throttle test side by side on the screen here. All the audio is gonna be coming from the pedal assist, so you won't hear the audio from the throttle. If it makes it up this hill at under or keeps it above 10 miles an hour on pedal assist, I consider this a good hill climber. If it makes it all the way up the hill with throttle, I consider it a good throttle bike. But if it makes it all the way up the hill at over 10 miles an hour with a throttle, I consider it a really good throttle bike, because that is a challenge for any bike to be able to do, especially a 750 watt motor that weighs about this much. We're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get this started, and I'll give you the times whenever we get to the very top. Let's go. So I've got this in the hardest gear right now and in turbo mode, how I do this. And we're gonna go ahead and start pedaling. And I suspect this bike will be pretty decent going up this hill. Bike doesn't have an extremely fast acceleration, but it is a very smooth bike, which is what I like to see. So before the hill started, 21 miles an hour, already pumping in with the gear shifting, 15 miles an hour. Kind of hoping for a little bit more power, if I'm honest. We're at 15 miles an hour, getting up to the 19% grade. A little bit of shifting issues, but might have to readjust that rear derailleur. That's really hurting the pedal assist. We are down to 7 miles an hour. We are gaining at 9 miles an hour now that we got back into our gear. 9.5. We're going. It's still going. It's still helping me. But man, that stock shifting right out of the box does need some adjustment. There was our hill climb. And since it didn't make it stock out of the box with no adjustments up the hill in over 10 miles an hour, I can't give it a definitive good hill climbing rating. But I would say, I think once I got the shifting done, it would probably be fairly decent. But out of all the 750 watt motors that I've tested, it is definitely one of the mid power. I'm not gonna say it's got peak power. I'm gonna say it's a mid power. Could use a little bit more power, if I'm honest with you. All right, guys, let's go back to the garage now that we've got all those tests done and just go over my final thoughts on it. Now, I do want to point out the Himiway manual is actually pretty detailed. One thing that I was extremely impressed with is they actually go through on how to bleed the brakes. This is a pretty standard procedure, but not all manufacturers go into this much detail. It looks like Himiway is perfectly fine with their end users actually doing most of the maintenance on their bikes. And to see the fact that they show you how to bleed them and to know exactly which pads work for your particular bike, it's really nice to see that they included that in this manual. So make sure whenever you pick up your Himiway that you don't throw this away. Put this somewhere safe because it does have a lot of important information, like how to bleed your brakes, what brake pads you need, any other type of like maintenance type stuff that you would want to do. And also it's got that code so you can get into the display. Okay, so let's take a look at the screen here. This is super nice color display. Really easy to see in daylight, and at night it's not too bright. But I haven't ever seen this style before. I really like the layout. You've got your battery bar up here that's showing how many battery bars you have. It'll display 5. Then you have your turn signals on each side right here. And then you're going to have your pedal assists are going to change right through here. You have several different ones, which are what we went through whenever we did our pedal assist test. And then if you hold down the minus button, it will walk. If you hold up the plus button, it will turn on your headlight. The screen dims just a little bit, and then you've got an indicator that your headlight is on. So that's great for nighttime riding. And then right here, you do have your miles per hour or your kilometers, whichever one you have. This bar right here will indicate your power output. So you'll be able to see exactly what your power is just by seeing a visual kind of bar go up and down. And then this over here is what they're calling the speed bar. So as you get going faster, this bar will go up and down on this side. If you put this into walk mode by holding the minus button, you'll have a little walk character kind of show up right there above the Himiway logo. Now, if you have any error messages, they will pop up right here. Down here, you are going to have your trip and your odometer. And then if you tap the menu button, it'll just go through some other settings: average speed, max speed, your watts, your time, your calories, your CO2, your torque, and your cadence. Now, something that's kind of neat that's in the manual, if you hold down the right and left turn signals for a few seconds, it'll actually turn on some flashers, and those are indicated through the rear tail lights also. Now, if you want to get into the actual menu system, hold down the M button, and then you'll be displayed with a password right here. The password is going to be 0510, and you just hit the M button to go to the next one. So 010. That will get you into this settings here. So you just need to take note that that's what that is. So somebody can't just come up and start messing with these settings. Now, going into the general settings, we're going to find the screen brightness one first, and I'm going to turn the brightness down on this so it's easier for you guys to see. So that should possibly make that a little bit easier. You have 5 different settings there, and then you just hit the M button to say okay. But this top one right up here is going to be to clear your trip settings. So if you want to track your rides and each ride you want to reset, you can do it there. You can go in here for your default assistance level. If you want it to be off whenever you start the bike up, that's what you do. If you want it to be anything else, you're just going to go through here, and that's what it would start up at whenever you start the bike. So when you go into your auto assist, it defaults in at manual, but you can have it go to that at startup. This is where the bike basically just intelligently knows which pedal assist level to actually put it in. Next up, screen brightness, which you guys saw on that one that I already did. Then you're going to have your unit settings. This is where you'd go in and change for your miles per hour or kilometer. Your auto power off, that's going to be defaulted in at 3 minutes. You can change it all the way up to 12 minutes. You're going to have your voltage display. So if you want this to display your voltage on the screen, you can have that on there. I just currently have that set to off because that's the way that it came. You can also go in and you can change between 2 different colors on this bike if you want to really customize this display. That's going to be the general settings. Let's check out the other settings on this bike. So we'll hit the power button to go back. This is going to be kind of a little bit more detailed right here. This is your assist system settings. So this is going to be where you're going to set your e-bike class. So whenever you get this bike, it's going to be a class 2 e-bike, maximum 20 miles an hour. But if you go in here, you can change it to a class 3, a class 1, or a class 2. I pumped it up to class 3 for this just because I like these bikes to be able to go all the way up to that 28 mile an hour limit. And then you can go in here and you can change your maximum speed. Even if you change this over to a class 3, I don't believe that this changes. You're going to have to go in here and set this to 28. That's the max that it'll let you. But if you wanted to lower that for somebody who is new to biking, you could lower that down to whatever speed you wanted to go down to. Or it looks like the lowest is 4 miles an hour. Then you can change your walk assist speed here. I just have it set to, it looks like this is in kilometers, 4 kilometers. That's the standard. You can lower it from down to 3 or all the way up to 6. So that's going to be your assist level settings. Let's go down and check out your assist mode settings. This is where it gets a little bit more detailed. So assistance torque setting, right here, you can actually indicate how much torque you want per range. So in Eco Plus, you're going to get 18 Newton meters of torque. Eco, you're going to get 36. Tour, you're going to get 54. And then if you hit the menu button, you can go in and you can manually change this. So you can kind of customize this to how you want each one to work. That's a super nice setting. We go down and we see the assist ratio setting. In here, this is just going to be, again, it's like a ratio. So basically, each pedal assist level is going to have a different amount of torque. It's just a different way to kind of see how these are going to boost up. So assist ratio 1.0 for Eco Plus. For Eco, it's 1.5. For Tour, it's 2. And then all the way up to Turbo, 3.5. So you can adjust all these to what works best for you. The power response tuning. So you can do the startup power. You have all these. This is really cool. It comes in at standard. I went ahead and put it at most rapid because I wanted it to be the fastest that this bike could be, but you can make this bike even smoother than it already is. And if we go back down to powering, same thing. I put it on most rapid. It defaults in at standard. And then end power, I put it at most rapid, it defaults in at standard. So if you want the fastest bike, just put it at most rapid and that will give you that. Now the assist sensor switch, this is where you can pick between a torque sensor and a cadence. I currently have this on torque right now, but for my pedal assist test, I did all of that in cadence mode. Now the throttle settings on here, if you set it on variable speed, it'll follow what each pedal assist level is. And then you can also do follow the walk mode. So your throttle would only go, I believe, limited to what walk mode allows. Then you're going to have your safety settings. And this is different modes for your tail lights. So you have different levels of flashing or constant on. Very cool settings that they offer on this bike. Not a lot of manufacturers do this kind of stuff. Then you have your system and your over the air. So you can go in here and you can check out all of your settings or what your current system info is. You can do a factory reset and then you can do an over the air update. So that is all of the menu settings and your display screen. Okay guys, I had to get back out and do the hill climb test. So I came out the next morning and I had this battery fully charged and decided to just take on that hill one more time. I think this result turned out to be a little bit more fair, but it also taught me a great lesson. Whenever these bikes have about 2 battery bars left, you can expect to not get quite the performance out of it whenever it has a full battery. Now, this is pretty standard for most e-bikes, but I didn't quite understand how drastic of a difference that would be when it came to hill climbing. Now, it did pedal up the hill just fine, but the throttle was a little bit of a struggle. But as you can see in this run, with the throttle fully charged, it actually performed really well, just barely touching 7 miles an hour, maintaining about 8 miles an hour, I would say the majority of the time on the steepest part. Take note, if the battery is low, this bike won't be able to climb hills really well with the throttle, but it will do a pretty dang good job with full battery. There's the hill climb, and here's the time. So there you go, guys. That is the Himiway D5 2.0. Overall, this bike is a super nice bike. I think coming in right around $2,000, this is a really good deal. By far, one of the smoothest and most comfortable riding fat bikes that I have ever ridden. It is definitely a beast of a bike, has amazing tires. These Maxxis tires, as you guys saw, were quiet and they gripped really well, especially on that braking test. This bike has a lot going for it. The only downfall is the size of the battery. Coming in under 15 amp hours does limit the range just a little bit. Here's the estimated range from the manufacturer. And if I'm really honest, I do wish that with this bigger frame that they slapped in a 20 amp battery. I feel like it could fit in here, as this is one of the thicker down tubes that I have seen on a lot of these fat tire bikes. Hopefully Himiway does come out with a 20 amp version, or maybe even a 25 amp version, because I have a feeling with the comfort level that this bike has, you could really ride this on some long adventures. And if you guys are enjoying my content, go check out Mike's Unlocked Garage. That's my Patreon page where you can help support this channel and also get early access and some behind the scenes footage of not only this channel, but also my RunBikeMike channel, which is primarily around mountain bikes. And also, if you could, go ahead and click the subscribe button. It's a totally free option to support this channel. Hit the like button and leave me a comment letting me know what you think of the Himiway D5 2.0. And of course, if this isn't the bike for you, go check out my playlist, as I have a ton of bikes that I've reviewed on this channel, and I have a ton more on the way. But as always, guys, get out there and ride your e-bike.